All right, we're
Ooh,
live.
yeah, that's cool.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Gary. It's good to see you, man.
You too. Well, this is our first time we've ever kind of done anything like this.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, not only this little Zoom uh, talk, but it's the first time we've done, say, this fundraising event
I
together, huh?
know, I
Or
know,
any fundraising
I
event in
know.
this.
Well, why did we want to make this video?
Well, you had some really excellent questions, and particularly about the nonprofit that we're doing the fundraising event for, Healthcare for Justice. And um, definitely, we don't have the time or bandwidth for presenting all the answers to those questions during the actual soiree that we're having on
Mm-hmm.
December 4th. And so you felt, and I agree, that people would probably want to know. And so, we want to put this out there to maybe answer some questions about who we are and why we do what we do, and maybe hear some actual facts and data on the situation of human trafficking. So,
Sure. Yeah. So, in case people don't
right,
know,
yeah, is that what you were thinking?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
want
Okay.
people. I
Cool.
want.
Cool.
I want people to. I want people to buy tickets.
I mean, yeah, that's cool. That would be cool too.
Yeah, but no, in case people are watching and they don't know what's going on, so Anthony and I have been friends for a really long time since we were about 5 years old, and
Yeah.
so we've gone through a lot together. But Anthony's become a wonderful doctor over in Ventura, and he and
Mm.
his wife started this organization called Healthcare for Justice, and we're raising money for them, just the regular stuff that goes into to running an organization, and so we kind of partnered up, and I'm doing some music for this little online event, and it's basically like an online concert with some information about the organization, and so it's December 4th, and we're suggesting like a $25 kind of donation, and I've been
Yeah.
recording some new Christmas arrangements on guitar, so I've been working hard on that. I got about three more to record, so
Yeah.
it's a pre-recorded thing, but I
Right.
think
Right.
everyone who is involved will really enjoy it. So, anyway, we're here to just talk to Anthony and learn more about his heart and this organization and what it's all about. So, um, yeah, Anthony, why don't you tell us like just like a brief overview of the organization? And if you see me looking around, it's because my daughter's over
Yeah.
here about to
Yeah. I
fall off
hear.
something.
I
Yeah,
hear. I hear a little Penny there in the background. And I
yeah,
know she can't hear me because we're on headphone, but make sure you give me a hug or give her a hug
yeah.
for me. Um, yes. Hi, Penny. Hi. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Um, So, Healthcare for Justice is a clinic that is a comprehensive primary healthcare clinic that provides um, the care free of charge to victims and survivors of human trafficking, as well as domestic violence, as well as their family members. Um, and the mission is really to try and continuously, as we always are learning and growing, but to really take barriers away that are preventing people from obtaining and seeking out freedom from their situation, and also, healing from the trauma that they have endured. So I
Yeah,
think that's a quick one-liner, maybe
absolutely.
two-liner.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you kind of don't, at least in my mind, like it's like, does is human trafficking really going on? Like in, you know, Southern
Yeah,
California. You
yeah,
know.
that's a wonderful question. Well, I mean, not to maybe put people to sleep, but let me tell you a little bit of facts and figures.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'd love to hear that.
the most updated facts and figures, and actually, I kind of like taking things on a macroscopic level and then narrowing down. That's just kind of how
Sure.
my mind works. But globally, right now, according to the most recent facts and figures, about 40.3 million people are considered to be trafficked, or either in some sort of forced labor or sex slavery, or forced marriage type situation globally.
Right.
And that's what's called a prevalence statistic. It's not like how many people this year newly have been trafficked. It's just if you take a snapshot, how many people are in a traffic situation. And actually, before I go on, one thing that is very true, much actually more here in the United States than, say, in other countries, is that it is very difficult to get accurate numbers. And we honestly think that a lot of the numbers that we have, particularly in developed nations, because of the ability for traffickers to hide what's going on, is really the tip of the iceberg.
It's probably larger than the number.
Yeah, and a huge barrier to getting those numbers is a victim's willingness to report what's gone on, because of fear to either them or their family, for example, of repercussions. Because the majority of the time a trafficking situation happens, it is often from somebody they know, their family knows, is close to their family, and is somehow in a source of authority or power over them or their family. So it's usually not a snatch and grab type of situation when it comes to human trafficking.
Right.
Anyway, so that's the global statistics, and honestly, globally right now, the estimates are about 83-ish%. As this is as of 2018 estimates, 83% is labor trafficking, and about 17% is sex trafficking.
Wow. And so, like, localized in kind of your area or our area.
Yeah. So if we're kind of zooming in the U.S., you know, there's a lot of people think human trafficking is people being brought from an outside country and into, say, the U.S. or into another country to be forced into whatever situation they're in, or coerced into whatever situation they're in. But actually, the estimate is anywhere from 14.5 to 17.5 thousand. So 14,000 to 17,000 people are trafficked into the U.S. On an annual basis. So that's more of an incidence. It's not like how many people in the U.S. are currently trafficked, and we don't have really good data on that in the U.S.
Right.
But if you look at the cases that have been reported, which is even more a smaller tip of the iceberg in the U.S. through the National Human Trafficking hotline run by the nonprofit Polaris. In 2019, about 22,326 individuals have been identified through cases being reported. So again, that is the incidence and prevalence as of like 2019 in the U.S. And the vast majority of those were U.S. citizens. So we have estimates that, you know, around 15,000 are trafficked into the U.S. from other countries, and we have actual data that the vast majority of reported cases of 22,000 are trafficked within state borders, so, or even in their own city, you know, but are U.S. citizens being trafficked. And what I think is interesting is that means that the number is just so grossly higher. Right. If we go to the state of California, in 2019, about 1,500 cases were reported of human trafficking. And between the most up-to-date in Ventura County, Southern California, you know, people think of Ventura as a city, but a small city compared to our neighbor at Los Angeles, about an hour and a half away, depending on what road you take. But there were 57 victims identified over 2 years, and just over this last year, even despite even definitely during the pandemic that's been going on. I mean, uh, that number is well into the teens and the 20s of cases identified here in Ventura County, and then just even to our clinic, we've had about four to five new referrals on top of
Mm,
the many people that we already are providing care to.
right.
And I think that, we hear 4 to 5 and it's like, oh, that's like nothing. But honestly, for a town of about, or city, I should say, excuse me, of about 100,000 population, and a county that's considered more of a pretty good mix of suburban and rural, um, it's actually quite a staggering number when we really think that it's not even the actual iceberg of the number.
Right, right. It's like
So
it's probably much higher, and you can extrapolate, reasonably and kind of, you
yeah,
know, reasonably estimate that the numbers are probably much higher. So, I remember a while back you had told me you were kind of telling me about like some of the difficulties for those types of people and survivors that to get that primary care, like that they it's very difficult for them to even go in to a clinic,
yeah,
because of
right.
various traumas and stuff, and you guys try and accommodate or uh, yeah, help out with that, right?
Yes. So I think that's a really good point, and something that's important to consider when we're talking about our model of healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from barriers for a victim of human trafficking to report themselves as being a victim, um, and in fact, if besides fearing the repercussions of, say, the trafficker, especially with the laws in the United States, how they are, and the view of uh, some people in the United States on people who are illegal immigrants, for example, there's a
Right,
lot of reluctance to report when you
right,
are in that status,
yeah,
which is sad because, and again, it also comes from the fact that people who are in authority, including doctors, have been traffickers and are traffickers. I'm not saying
mm.
all doctors are human traffickers. I'm just saying that there's been cases of people being trafficked by um, people who are in authority figures, including,
Right,
the
right,
medical community, including the legal system, including the government itself in some countries. And so, when people are trafficked from outside the U.S., from countries that are having governments that are much more corrupt than say our government here, there's a lot of fear. So on top
right,
of that, there's been all this trauma, especially by systems, systematic trauma. There's been trauma from, you know, loved ones and people that they actually thought cared about them. And so it's not surprising that a lot of people who want help will not seek it out, even when somebody they trust says, "Hey, I know someone who can help, but we need to go over here to their clinic to
right.
get help." And in fact, that's what I discovered here in Ventura County, that I was working in a wonderful county-based public clinic, and just seeing, everybody and everything as a family doc there. Loved it. Such a wonderful clinic. And I had an awesome medical director that, allowed me to, in a sense, stay a little later, and had some staff there, like nursing staff that would want to kind of donate their time. And we would kind of open the office for the ability for people who've been identified as survivors and victims
Mm-hmm.
to come and get healthcare for free when they didn't have health insurance and things like
Right.
that, to try to remove that barrier. But I still had about a 50 to 60% no-show rate.
Oh wow.
And when I was able to send out surveys that street workers and case managers who had identified and built trust with some of these survivors to fill out, it was largely because of the fear of going somewhere again to an authority figure who was, quote, willing to help.
Right.
Um, and so I learned over the years about 2014 to 2018, discovering that something needed to change. So
Mm.
I took a model of healthcare that exists right now in the United States and some other developed countries called direct primary care. It's also referred to as concierge medicine
Right.
because it's actually a model of care that is typically reserved for people of means.
Right.
It's like you pay a retainer fee in a sense
Yeah.
to a doctor, and that doctor has a low um, census of patients, but he's basically on call for those patients like 24/7.
Yeah.
And they can access that doctor anytime they want. And so it's kind of a model of healthcare for again people with means.
That's
And
awesome. So
and I thought to myself, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you
that's
there,
all
but
right.
I
Yeah.
thought to myself, like, you know what, like we need to meet these people um, at their level and meet them where they're comfortable. And so, we do have a clinic location, which we could talk about in a bit, but we also will go to them. And meaning the vast majority of our referrals come from non-governmental organizations and like-minded nonprofits who have case managers that have identified and provide safe harboring for these victims and survivors, and they've become comfortable with their case managers. So we'll meet them at the case manager's office to have our first meet and greet.
Right.
And yeah, I call them, I consider that like a home visit,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's providing this, and we have this very secure email and text messaging and phone. They all, pretty much all my patients have my number. They can just get a hold of me, and so it's really just breaking down a lot of barriers typically to healthcare in order to help them on their path to freedom. So.
That's cool. So if I understand you correctly, it sounds like, um, yeah, kind of taking this level of care that is available to people who have more money, and trying to do a version for free for those people who need it
Yeah,
the most. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah. I mean, it's a wonderful idea
Yeah,
of care, but I feel like, especially for people who are so traumatized, it's ideal for them,
yeah.
And
Sorry
so,
for the baby. Here, I'll
yeah,
mute my.
no, no problem at all, man. No problem at all. I'm sure you're going to hear one of my three running around or coming barging in the room soon.
I just remembered you could mute the audio on here, so I should have been doing that the whole
Yeah,
time. That's
it's no
awesome,
problem.
Anthony. Man, what else? Yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to share about, like, what do you guys see? How long have you guys been open?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So, I mean, I've been working with the local Ventura County Coalition Against Human Trafficking, which is a giant conglomeration in our county of all the both non-governmental and governmental organizations that are trying to come together and combat this and help
Yeah.
victims and survivors with all of our resources together since about 2015.
Oh, okay.
2014,
So it's
2015.
kind of been a slow, gradual thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
myself. But as far as Healthcare for Justice, we really kind of established ourselves as a separate nonprofit, direct primary care for this patient population entity in June of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, June of 2019. And we officially opened clinic doors at the local Family Justice Center, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
And I'll explain that in a second, in November of 2019. And the Family Justice Center is a model of care that started in California and in another county, but it's um, under one roof, all of the governmental and non-governmental organizations that are providing any type of and all types of the aftercare services this patient population would need, um, all sitting under one roof. And that's where our clinic site is. But somebody could come there, not only see us for healthcare, but they could meet, say, with a lawyer. They could meet with a case manager. They could meet with a social service worker, housing assistance, all the things that they may need. all under one roof. So it's not scattered in various parts of the county, which is super exciting.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there do any like stories come to mind? Is there a story? I don't know of how much you could share with a like a patient story or anything that would help kind of provide like
Yeah.
context on like when someone comes in, or you say you do some of these house visits, or
Yeah.
how has the response been from the people you've been serving?
Yeah, so far the response has been excellent. And in fact, since I've changed the model of care and went to this nonprofit clinic that's pretty much unrestricted by, medical insurance, because I don't even have to worry about that anymore. I just see the patient and that's it. Um, I we have had our no-show rate go from about 50 to 60% to maybe 5 to 6%, which is pretty excellent. We've been able to start building some awesome relationships. But if there's one story I'd have to share, it'd have to be one that I helped uh, uh, document with one of my patients and friends. And actually, he sits on our board of advisors as a survivor of human trafficking. But Ryan's story, and Ryan has given me full permission to share his story. We published it on our website. You could even check it out there. But Ryan was trafficked, both labor trafficked, and also was a victim of repeated sexual abuse and assault by his traffickers from the Philippines. He was trafficked in the mid to late 2000s and was brought over by the family of his love interest at the time. And on a student visa, he thought he was going to be able to pursue his dream of getting a college degree, which he did start attending a college here, but pretty soon they forced him into labor, particularly a home health labor situation that the company kind of or the family kind of owned and ran, and garnished his wages, and it just went downhill from there. And the more details can be found on the story we published. But in short, when he came and established care with me in 2015, I don't think I've ever seen anybody so scared and terrified and literally shaking when I walked into the room for the first time. Um,
Wow.
he was unable to get more than an hour of sleep each night, secondary to horrible, horrible nightmares. And this was after the fact that he had been able to get out of that situation. Um, and actually get legal help and social case management help, but he was just suffering. But through, um, you know, continuing to, meet, continuing to focus on his psychiatric trauma, which had manifested itself multiple ways in his body, both physically and mentally, treating both through medicinal and therapeutic, therapy talk, cognitive behavioral therapy approaches. Ryan is, doing so much better. His nightmares are not 100% gone, but he tells me now that maybe once a month he'll have one. He's wanting to give back. He's serving on our board. He's actually applying to multiple different fellowships run through various organizations of human trafficking survivors to give back that way. And he's thriving. He's doing great. So if you have a chance, if you're watching this and you want to read a little more about his story, in my opinion, his story is a powerful one. And
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that Gary, you asked me once, why did we start this?
Yeah.
And it's stories like his that, in my opinion, really just kind of answer that in the long run. But on a personal level, I was through my first 2 years of medical school over in Boston, and I hit this like weird point where I started asking myself, like, why am I doing this? Because I don't know, if you kind of sit down and look at, life, we all, you know, are on this like journey that's just continuing and to repeat itself, in my opinion, years over years. I mean, slavery is not a new thing. And human trafficking is today's modern day slavery. Um, and, I realize like we're all just these, human beings that are living together and working together and interacting together. And when it all came down to it, I'm studying this thing called medicine. And, at the end of it, I could either look at it in one or two or both ways. And one way is, all right, someone would come to me, I would make a diagnosis, and I would recommend a treatment, and that's it. And that's what I was learning to do in medical school, which is important as a doctor. But part of me was like, what's the real purpose of this if I'm not able to help the human condition, in a sense that we're all living? And to me, I at least for me, and I know for my wife Emily, when we were going through our graduate school training programs, we wanted to try and figure out what could we do with these skills, with these tools, to help people who have been denied the right to feel like a human being. I think that
Yeah.
that's something I learned through my medical training, is that that a doctor can diagnose and prescribe a treatment and even cure a disease, but that doesn't make them a good doctor, in my opinion. I think a good doctor does that and does two other things. A good doctor also says, I don't know, when they don't know, but goes and looks it up.
Doctors know everything.
No, it's
Just
not
kidding.
true. It's not true. Um, but also, I think a good doctor is somebody who actually, either directly or indirectly helps a human, say, to be able to be seen as a human being. After the interaction, it's like, hey, they at least heard my story of who I am as a human, and what I represent, and hopefully felt, not only cared about, but, elevated to this equal status as a human being on this earth, right?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, my point is, I think that we're using it from the skills that we have through this, but I think we all can do that. I think we all can help people who, and there's other traumas other than human trafficking and domestic violence that dehumanize people. I'm not trying to just say that that's the only thing that does that, but if we can all see each other for the human beings that we are, and not vilify each other for whatever our, gosh, in this day and age, our political beliefs right now, I feel like both sides are vilifying each other, and it's so sad. But if we can see each other, that we're all humans and we all want to be seen as a human being and treated as a human being, that is, I think, what would really bring a lot of peace and harmony to this world. But and actually bring meaning to not only our own lives but other people's lives as well.
Yeah.
And so I would say that's probably the why. It kind of helped bring purpose to me going and becoming a doctor.
Yeah. Well, I remember even in college, I was always impressed. Well, I was impressed by you in a lot of ways. I mean, we had
Yeah, it goes
we did
both
some
ways, man.
we
It
did
goes
some
both
crazy
ways.
stuff. Um, just
That's true.
like, yeah, but yeah, even in college, I remember you had this heart to. I remember you talked about being a missionary doctor, and and so this heart for serving the weak or the vulnerable. Like, I've seen it in you for a long time, and so it I think back in those days it kind of looked like maybe another country or something was the mission field, but like the mission field's like right in our backyard. There's people right
Yeah.
all around us that you know,
Right.
are that we can help so directly. So I think it's really cool what you guys
Yeah.
have started.
Yeah,
So
and like I said, I mean, you know, if there's any way that we can identify what our strengths and our passions are and use those just to be able to show everyone around us, you're a beautiful human being, just like me,
hmm
um, then I think we should, you know, I think that's what's going to change this life from being something that is potentially meaningless to being meaningful, right?
hmm
I mean, and I know it goes deeper than that. We all have our own worldviews, and I know you and I share a lot of our own views on faith, you know, and things of that. But that aside, just being able to take and use our skills to help somebody who's been dehumanized feel like a human again, I think is so beautiful. So that's why I want to say thank you to you, Gary, because I mean, when we talked about fundraising, like it wasn't even a second thought, man. Using your gosh, your amazing skills that I would never be able to
oh,
have
thank you.
with music. I'm so blessed that you've partnered with us for this event, and yeah, so you guys, you know, if you're watching this, anybody's watching this, you guys really should, you know, use what you can to get involved as well. And even if you can't donate to get a ticket for this event, like, man, join our subscriber list and spread the word, and just let people know that this stuff happens, and be aware, you know, and
Yeah,
so.
yeah, very cool. Well, if we should probably tell people where to go to if they want to help or support. And
Oh, that's a good
so,
idea.
yeah, I think I I think I have the website here. Hang on, I can do this fancy share the screen thing. Check it
No
out.
way.
Yeah, let's see,
Man,
share.
technology.
I know. It's because I've been teaching online, so I'm like
Woo!
all about that. So
Look at
if you
that.
go to healthcareforjustice.org and then slash soiree, which I still don't know how to spell, but if you're watching this on Facebook or anything, there's links everywhere. So just
You
click the
know,
link and go
funny
here.
aside is I literally had to look it up to see, like, does it have to have an accent over the first E or not? And actually, if you look at Merriam-Webster, it said that 70% of spellings are okay without. I'm like, what does that mean? So I just put it without the accent.
Yeah, well, when I saw the soiree, I thought, oh, I bet Anthony's mom picked that word, but maybe it was you.
Oh, you know what? She has got to watch this video because she did pick that word. And yeah, it's been a bit of a family endeavor. My mom, who's for those of you who don't know, who's a retired college president, really just couldn't stop working. And she is our CEO, if you will.
Yeah,
I call her our CEO gratis because she's not
yeah,
accepting a dime for what she's doing for us, and
that's a
she's just a powerhouse when it comes to
yeah.
getting these fundraisers going.
Well, big shout out to Chillboard. And so here's our
Yeah,
page, and you can buy the ticket. And on the day of the event, we'll post a link to the videos, and you'll get to enjoy the music. And you're also gonna get the all the recordings from of the music that I've been recording. So you'll get like a literal album of Christmas music that you can enjoy forever. So
yeah.
we think it'd
Oh
be pretty
man.
cool. And also just a note, if you know, there's a specific time here. Penny, keep it down. Just kidding. Um, but if but if you can't make it at 8 or you're in a different time zone or whatever, the link will be available to watch at any
Yes.
time. So we just kind of picked a
Yes.
time to make it like a real event, you
Right.
know.
Right. And
So
I think there's some maybe talk between Gary and I about maybe hosting, maybe we'll talk about it more, but a little live Q&A afterwards for those who want to join in, either on,
yeah,
I don't know, maybe a Google Meet or a Zoom, and we could just chat and catch up with old friends. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, it'll be fun. So
Hey, can you go back to share the screen real quick? I just
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to point out, since we talked about it, if you go to at the top, click home,
Home. All right.
and then scroll down to keep going. Scroll down to, I think Ryan's story has a link here. If you So we got the holiday story
Oh,
right
there we
there. You
go.
can click on that whole area, and it takes you to Ryan's story on our website. In fact, it's just /Ryan's story. Healthcareforjustice.org /Ryan's story. And there's a story
Awesome.
right there that you can read. If you haven't been on our subscriber list to just like hear our quarterly updates, you can click on the news right there and see our last couple quarterly updates. And yeah, I just wanted to point that out as well.
Good. And if you forget
Since
how
we
to
were talking about that, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And if you forget how to spell soiree, just go to healthcareforjustice.org and click on soiree.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Very cool.
There
Well,
you go.
all right, let me close this here. Well, we should probably wrap it up. I'm supposed to teach in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, man.
And
Hey, it's so good to
but
see your face, Gary.
you too. And I'll try and post some updates on the Facebook page, maybe even like a few music samples and stuff. So just been
Nice.
trying
I've
to
been
post
getting
there.
to see him, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
like we kind of nightly get to watch him, and I know that my whole family's like, let's listen to Mr. Gary again.
That's awesome.
And
All
I'd
right.
like to put a shout out to Gary. There's going to be at least one Gary Lee original on this. Not just all arrangements of well-known holiday songs.
Yeah.
So I am looking forward to that.
There'll be at least one because I need to make
Awesome.
some a guy because I got to get the time up for the
Yeah.
for the music.
No, Gary. I know that people buying these tickets are going to want to hear some Gary Lee originals too. So good, man. Awesome.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. And love to everyone watching. And please sign up and
Yeah.
have a great day.
Love you, Gary. Thanks for hosting, man.
Love you too.
You dude.